There we go. Listen, ladies, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. Listen, dear younger married me. Um, this is a spinoff, a kickoff from a conversation that I had with the fellas about a month or so ago. I did Dear Younger Married Me with two gentlemen, and it was amazing. And they was like, where the women at though? Like, we got the guys' perspective, but where my girls at? So marriage has always been, especially for us women, is like a topic that, and this is probably why I've had my biggest audience with this conversation, because women love marriage. They're like talking about it, they're like hearing about it. We want to get it right. We want to make sense of it. We love love. So thank you guys for agreeing to have this conversation with me. I am your host. I am Erika Genice. I have dope conversations with dope people. And I have two ladies who I'm going to give their bios very quickly. But the reality of it is these are my friends. Like, we have these conversations all of the time. I was just telling somebody, Angela, that you and I, when we went to, we had our little Frisco fun night, just me and you, and we were on that bench talking for close to an hour. And you was like, girl, I gotta go home to my husband, get your little single, I gotta go. But these aren't like unfamiliar topics and conversations that we have as friends, but we just get to have it in front of the world. And so thank you guys. So we have Angela Evans. She at the bottom, but she's amazing. I'll give her a bio, but this is my friend. She's my mentor. I love her. By way, Dallas, by way Charlotte, by way Denver. She wanted me to tell y'all that she's a Broncos fan still. I don't know why that's relevant, but she's a Broncos fan. She's a daughter. She's a sister, she's a cousin, she's a wife, she's a mother, she's a bonus mom. I'm gonna add in there, she's a mentor, she's an amazing friend. She's an aunt, she's an employee, she's a boss, she's a sorority member, she's a band and soccer mom. She's either exhausted or exhilarated. Y'all figure out which one. And then I have my dear friend, Jennifer Presley-Sanders. I'm not about to say Jennifer the whole live. I need y'all to understand. This is my twin. This is her name. I call her twin. We have the same birth date.
And year.
You understand what I'm saying? Okay. We ain't got to tell you all what the year is, because it's none of your business. Y'all ain't come here for all that. But this is my twin. And so you'll hear me call her that throughout this entire live. So you'll only hear me say Jennifer once. She's born in Queens, New York, raised in Syracuse, New York. She relocated to the DFW area in 2015 due to a job promotion, which I met you at that job, which was literally the biggest blessing of my life. By societal standards, she married at the age of 36. She enjoys cooking, traveling, and learning all things finances in her spare time. And I got to get you back on here for finances, because you will bust their head open when it comes to finances. That is your thing. And you're just incredible at it. So thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Let's jump into it. If you guys see any comments that y'all need, like y'all looking at them too, I'm going to be looking at it. And if you guys see anything that you want to jump into and answer, or questions, thank you everybody for being here. Wait, before I start, I need to know where people are coming from. What cities are y'all in right now? I told y'all I want to be a little bit more engaged in this live. Where are people coming in from? Do y'all see anybody, what they're saying? What cities are y'all in right now? Oh, there we go. Where are they coming from, y'all? We got Shayla in here. We have Barbara. We have some hello ladies. I just shared it. Thank you. Somebody said Bronco. She ain't have to do that. Why was she?
Glad I don't have on a Broncos jersey.
Listen, and it's not that we should have came in. We should have came in drunk. Now, why would she say that? Anyway, we got a Broncos here. We have my best friend in here. Hey, Ty. We have someone from Virginia. We got North Carolina. We have Texas. What up? We got y'all in here. Listen, they coming in here. They want to see the ladies. They not playing with y'all about this marriage thing.
And they need to
Wichita Falls, Georgia.
because it was good.
Huh?
They need to go back and see the one the guys did. It was good. I watched it.
Did you watch it?
I did. Oh yeah.
It was
It was real good. It was real good. There's some stuff in there that we don't even have time to cover.
You don't even have time to cover. And now that you just said that, don't make me do a live with them and us to going too far. I'm going too far. Let's get into it. So I start my conversations with a quote. Okay. I struggle with my quotes because there's so many good ones, but this is the one that came and hit my spirit. The quote is, most marriage problems are not really marriage problems. They are God problems. They can be traced back to one or both, having a poor relationship with God or a faulty understanding of him. An accurate picture of God is vital for a healthy marriage. Agree, disagree? What y'all think? Does it boil down to having some sense of a relationship with God?
For me, it's about being willing to understand where each person is in their relationship with God and their faith walk, because you're not very often, I think, going to come together with everybody in the same space. So once you get together, the question then becomes, how do we walk this out? Right. Yeah. So that to me is what's key, is understanding how you showed up and then how do we walk this out together?
Yeah. Twin.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just knowing that it's bigger than you. And I think sometimes like we kind of go into marriage like very self-serving, like one person that wants something from the other person or vice versa. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're here for a larger purpose than to just serve ourselves. Like we're here to serve others. So yeah, I mean, I think it starts there, and then just kind of getting out of your own way and kind of getting out of your own like selfishness with things.
Yeah, good. So let's dive into, I'll go to you, Twin. How long have you been married, and how long did you date prior to getting married?
So my husband is Greg. We've been married for 3 years and we dated for 3 years.
Yep. I know that. Where did y'all meet?
So we actually met on match.com. And so I moved down 2015 to Dallas. So yeah, December 2015. I met him, was like July, August 2016. We got engaged October 2017, and then we got married April 2019.
Okay. Match.com. That's a plug. That's a plug for people. Because listen, I haven't been on the dating websites, but you hear all of these horror stories. And I by the way, I met her, and I think he's an incredible man. But you hear these horror stories of dating websites and should I join and should I not join, and how much you're invested in it. And so thank you for sharing that space of just the new way of possibly dating, that it's not always a negative thing. You can find somebody.
Well, and the thing is that, so my sister, pretty much I'm known to be working multiple jobs. So my sister told me, don't go down to Texas and work and start working 3 jobs. So I'm like, okay. So yeah, and then she kind of encouraged me, like, maybe try some dating websites. And honestly, I wasn't really looking for anyone or anything, but I was like, okay, let's just see how this goes. So I joined Match.com and I joined Black People Meet. And I did go on a couple of dates with a couple of different people. And it's funny because when I met Greg, I was kind of over it. And I was maybe only on there for like a month or two. And I was actually starting to pull my profile down.
Yeah.
And he kind of was like, he just kind of reached out. And I'm one of those people that I don't hold grudges against everybody because one person did something to me. So I'm like, okay, I'll give this guy a shot and we'll see what happens. Yeah. And the rest is history. I literally was like taking my profile down, like, okay, I'm not doing this online dating thing.
Yeah.
And then that's what happened. So
And God said, boom, you thought, you
Yeah.
thought it was over. Just when, that's
Yeah.
powerful, because just when you think it's over, or just when you are starting to be yourself, God's like, I just needed your patience.
Yeah.
I just needed you to do something different, and then I'm gonna show up just when you were ready to give up. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So for anyone who is on this live, if you met somebody through like Match.com, any sort of like dating websites, let us know. Or even if you're thinking of possibly giving up, you've heard her testimony, so don't do it. Let's go to you, Angela, because I know I love your stories, literally.
So,
Let's hear. So how long you've been married? How long did you guys date? And then I'll just add in there, where did you meet him?
Okay. So we'll start at the meeting. He and I have actually known each other since 7th or 8th grade, knew of each other. So I actually have a yearbook from junior high school where I had written cute by his picture, and he had this little crooked, ugly afro. So we never dated because he liked one of my friends, but we knew each other. Both left Denver to go to college in the 80s, came back in the 90s, and I was working at a job, and he needed a job, and he called me randomly and he's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, come out here and interview. And he's like, okay. So he comes out and he interviews, and the VP at the time was like, yeah, we're not going to hire him. I'm like, what? So I got to tell him. They're like, yeah, that's your job. You're HR. I was like, So I call him up. I'm like, hey, just want to let you know you had a great interview. However, there's a better fit, yada, 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 a lot of HR words, and we're not going to hire you. And he was like, okay. And so 2 days later, he called and he was like, hey, you want to go out for a drink? And I was like, yeah, I ain't doing nothing. And 18 months later, we were married.
Wow.
So in theory, we've known each other since we were 15, and we've been married 27 years at this point.
Yeah. So you called him with disappointment.
And had I hired him, we never would have been able to date because it would have been against company policy. So I didn't hire him. He asked me out. I was like, whatever. And yeah, we ended up getting married. And the strange thing is, we both are pack rats. And so we have these big boxes of letters and cards. And when we got married, we went through them and discovered that over a period of 15 years, from the time we left high school in 82 and 83 until we got married, we had never lost contact. Called Angela on her birthday, saw Linus in Atlanta, just random things that we had documented. So we never actually lost contact. So yeah, and now we've been together 27 years, and he's a real nice guy, to the point that my friends say if we ever get divorced, it will be my fault.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm that friend too. Twin,
I can't stick with y'all.
We're gonna be like,
well, you done messed up.
You didn't, Angela, what you done did? Because it ain't gonna never be him, ever, out in my eye. I love it. So when did you, Angela, know that you were ready for, and so the question was like, so when did you know you were ready for a commitment? But the end in my mind is like, do you ever really know? Whatever. So when did you know he was someone that I was willing to say, okay, I want to do the rest of my life with him?
When he told me.
Yeah.
Seriously. When he told me, we were dating, and he was like, hey, you want to move in together? I was like, I ain't get married. I mean, not moving to anybody I'm not married to. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, what? And I kind of missed the cues. And my friends will tell you I was thick. Like I was courting him. They were like, girl, what are you doing? And I was like, what? And then he essentially said, yeah, we'll be married. And I was like, okay. And I just didn't think anything else about it. But what I realized is my life started to change at that moment, because it was like everything I did was centered around being with him.
Yeah.
And then when he actually proposed, I just sort of looked at him And I was like, yeah. I mean, it wasn't, just so you know, for those of you that don't know me, I'm not sort of this really mushy romantic person kind of thing. I'm kind of pragmatic about a lot of things. So when he asked me, I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a done deal. And from that moment on, even though we took us, you know, a while before we got married, I was in.
Yeah.
I was planning for the 50-year anniversary picture in Jet with the matching outfits. And Jet ain't here no more. So I'm not quite sure what we're gonna do at 50 years. We're still gonna have matching outfits. I just don't know where we're gonna publish them.
And for anyone on the live, I want you guys to be a part of this conversation. So let me know when you met your spouse, if you're married or dating, I don't even care what it is. When did you meet your spouse? How did you meet them? And when did you know that you were ready for that commitment? I need y'all to drop this in the comments. Let us know, because we're going to be rereading this. Twin, when did you know that Greg was the one for you to say, okay, let's do this life together. Let's see what this looks like with him. When did you know that?
So I think there were a couple of things. So the first thing was when I had my profile up on these dating websites, I pretty much was like very specific, like pretty much I'm not really trying to play games with anybody, and I don't want anybody playing games with me. So I mean, he's a very good listener. He really pays attention. So first thing was that I was actually studying for a like an insurance designation. And he was over at my apartment and he was like helping me study. And I'm like, okay, that's a first. So that was one. And then it's funny because as we were studying, he got a phone call from someone, from like a coworker, and he goes, oh, I'm at my girlfriend's house. And I was like, okay, well, first off, like we never really had that conversation.
He said what he
said. Okay, he said what he said. So I'm like, okay, well, we never really had that conversation, but okay. And then another thing is, so I love to cook. I'm a foodie. My favorite food for any of my West Indians is oxtails. Homeboy cooked me some oxtails. So I'm like, okay. Just like little things, like he pays attention. And actually on our first date, we went to an Indian restaurant and he said to me, oh, I know you like Indian food. And I was like, Indian food? I'm like, where did he get Indian? I'd say I liked Indian food. Yeah. On my profile, I said I liked West Indian. He didn't know that West Indian and Indian food is different. Like, and then when I told him it's Caribbean, he's like, oh, why didn't you just say that? I'm like, but it's the same thing. So either way, so then our second date, we ended up going to we ended up going to the island spot in Carrollton. But yeah, so just like little things, just like really paying attention to what I like, and then just like it's kind of like staking his claim that he's interested and, you know, not really playing games.
Yeah, so it's almost like him leading you essentially, right? Like I'm interested in her. I'm not confused about that, because I think sometimes in the dating world we can be very confused. Like, does he like me? What does he feel about me? Where is this going? How is this going? And so the fact that he was very intentional, is important. Let me see here. Listen, the lady said, I love matching outfits. Jessica, we know she loved matching outfits with her and her husband and her kids, girl. All of them be matching. I love it. She's been married for 5 years. Jody said that they met at a Super Bowl party. Cliff said he's been married for 5 years. My husband and I met at a restaurant and a lounge. Okay, y'all be kicking it. Listen, to meet somebody, you gotta go places. Is that what we saying? You ain't gonna just be out here just on the couch. You want to meet somebody.
I think you got to be open to just doing, and then see what manifests. Right? I'm not going to go to X place to meet someone. I'm going to go be the best I can be as me. And then if something manifests, am I open to, have I prayed about it, and I open to who might show up for me and in a different way than I expect.
Oh, tell about can we talk about a different way, just for, this is not a question, you already know. Can we talk about how God shows up in different ways than, you want your preference, you got your package, he got to look a certain type of way, she has to look a certain type of way, but the way that God shows up. Can we talk about that a little bit?
So Mr. Evans, his name is Lennis, but Mr. Evans, he showed up and his whole thing was, I'm not going to date anybody that I'm not interested in potentially marrying. I'm too old for that. He was 29. I was 28. He was 29. He was like, so I'm just not out here, banging around. I'm not trying to do that thing. And a lot of it was because he had already done so many things previous to he and I even meeting, that by the time we got together, we were both on a path. But I will promise you, I knew I was going to marry somebody who was all about the party, just kind of want to hang out. We're going to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And I married this serious, once he gets to know you though, he ain't serious. But when you meet him, he's serious, very goal. This joker had 10 goals written down before we got married. I was like, what's a goal? I just, a good life. Right. But he had a goal. Let's get married and we'll have a house and some kids. He's like, okay, we'll have a house in year 2. We'll have some kids in year 3.5. Well, I mean, and I was like, what just happened? But when I look at our life now, those goals were really instrumental in how we have been successful in a number of ways, not without challenges, but
for sure.
Him being goal oriented like that keeps me focused.
Yeah, that's so good. That's good. But listen, what are some, I'm gonna go to you, Twin. What are some misconceptions about being married that you want to put into to the people? I think that, so I've never been married, just so the world know. Your girl out here single. Look, that's a shameless plug. But like, what are some things? Because I think that when I think about being married versus people that's married, it's probably two different things, right? So what are some misconceptions that you see that people go into marriage with this sort of mindset?
Yeah. So I'd say feeling like it's going to complete you in some way, that it's going to like fill some type of void, or, like the yin and the yang, peas and carrots, all that kind of stuff. To me, I feel like you have to come in as a whole person, because I mean, the holes are going to start to show, after a while, if you really think that person is going to fill in those holes for you, because I mean, that isn't going to be the case. I'd also say from like a financial perspective, I know I've heard debates on this as far as men paying for everything or taking care of things financially. And I mean, we live in a society that, I mean, it's very difficult to have like a one income household. So, I mean, to me, that's really not really realistic for the times that we're living in. And then the other thing I would say is that having kids, I mean, I don't know, I feel like people need to stop when people get married. They need to stop asking people, when are they having kids? Because those people are not going to be watching those kids, and they're not going to be footing the bill financially for those kids. So I think people need to be mindful of that. And especially, you don't know what people are going through. I mean, I can only speak for myself. I know you mentioned in the bio, I mean, I got married at 36. I'm 39 now. So it may not be as easy for me to have kids as when I was younger. So I feel like people really need to be mindful of that.
That's good. There's so much I could unpack in that. I just don't, because the kids thing, it because you hear it, right? Yeah. Like, even when you're not married and you feel like your back is against the wall, or the time is against the wall. And when are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? It's like all of these things. And it's like, leave us alone. Whoa. It's so much, because I think people are so time driven, and God does not have, he's not there like, oh, look at Twin, she turning 45 and she, like, that's not his time, because he'll make you have a kid at 60. That's a stretch. I know that. Oh, no, I went there.
That may be a stretch. Come on now.
That was a stretch. But he will literally make you have a kid when he feels like he wants you. He'll make a whole story out of your story. Don't get it confused. So thank you for sharing that. Angela,
I'm laughing because you talk about having a kid at 60. So I had my tubes tied after my second one because I'm a mean pregnant woman. And then I went to the office and watched my husband have a vasectomy because I wanted to make sure we didn't have no 52-year-old triplets, when I was
I am not she. I don't want to be she. She ain't.
I'm not trying to do it, but that's not the question. And for everybody, my husband knows I share that story because it's one of our favorite stories. But I think one of the misconceptions is you hear a lot of experts, and bless the experts who say it's 50-50, it's 100-100, whatever. When in actuality, the continuum has to be who's got to lift when for whatever our circumstances are. So, you can't come in thinking, okay, we're gonna split everything 50-50, the housework, the bills, all that's crazy town, because there are going to be times where I'm doing something that's taking up an inordinate amount of my time and he's carrying the weight.
Yeah.
And there's a flip side. There's times when he's doing stuff and carrying the weight, and that may be caring for our parents who are getting older. There's a child who's sick, so one person really has to, get in, or whatever the case may be. It could be work, it could be school. Yeah. So I think we need to stop looking at numbers of, I'm in 100 and he's in 100. Okay, yeah, that's a given. You got married. Everybody's in for 100, but stop trying to apply those numbers to these parts of life.
Yeah.
Everybody got to do what they got to do when they got to do it to lift where they got to lift. And that's just what you have to do in marriage. And so I can't get mad and the other thing is, if I feel like my other person is not playing their role, I also got to be willing to speak up. And that's something that's a learned behavior in marriage. How do you share that you feel unappreciated, et cetera, so that person is like, okay, there's something for me to do or change. I'm not offended by what they just said. Yeah. And that's learning as you go. But everybody's got to lift when they've got to lift. And I think the misconception is that everybody just knows what that looks like.
Yeah. Everybody lift is the same.
Right. And they don't. They
yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Angela, what was some of the things that you were taught as a young girl, as a little brown girl? What was something that you were taught that growing up and being married, right? This is what marriage should look like. What were you taught as a young girl? The picture on the wall, the fence. What did that look like for you?
Interestingly enough, I wasn't taught anything. So I was blessed with a mother and father who were together for 25 years before my father passed away, unfortunately, at a very young age. And around me were a lot of their military couples. So one of the things I learned about marriage was that there was somebody for everybody, because coming from a military background, who was married to who was married to who, right? And you just never knew.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot of different examples. I saw a lot of women who were very, wanted to serve their husband's plates. They ate first. I saw some other folks who was like, you better get in there and get some out the kitchen, or you're gonna be hungry.
Yeah.
So what I observed was just different ways of marriages working.
Yeah.
But I can't honestly tell you that anybody told me anything. And at least of all, I was never told I had to be married. That was not something. I was told I had to go to college, but I was never told I had to be married. So a lot of what I learned was what I observed and through the larger community that was around my family.
Yeah. What about you, twin? Were you told anything as a young girl? Did you feel like you had to aspire to be married at a certain age, what were you taught as a young girl for like wanting to be married? What were you taught?
Honestly, it's so funny because I know there's an age difference between me and Angela, but honestly, the same exact thing. I wasn't told anything. I was told nothing. Yeah. Everything was pretty much observed. And I would say something I appreciate about my family, like my mom and my dad, is that they didn't put that on us like, oh, when are you getting married? When are you having kids? When are you like it was kind of like, okay, are you happy? But like Angela said, the school thing, it was like that was a non-negotiable. You're
Yes.
going to school. It's not if you're going, it's where you're going. I think that was the main thing that was harped on was school versus like marriage and everything. But yeah, honestly, yeah, I would say I wasn't told anything. It was just watching other people, whether it be family members, or just, like friends, their parents, or yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't told anything.
Good. It's so funny because if you would hear the men's perspective, which Angela, you watched it, they were told totally different, right? About what it looks like to be married and a man and this and that. And so it's interesting that we, because I share the same thing. I think about it like, did I have someone in my ear about marriage? I think now, older Erika, yes. Younger Erika, not so much. I think it was more about the schooling, you know what I mean? Don't be out having sex and all this other type of stuff. That's what I was taught more than about marriage. If anyone's on this live, which I know y'all out here, I see y'all over here. What did y'all learn about marriage? What did they tell you younger married you? And just put it in the comments and we'll read them. But I'm interested to know, because I thought the response was going to be from y'all was you had to be married by 30. You had to be this, you had to be that. And that's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily what we were taught. So I want to hear what y'all got to say on the live. Let me know, women or men, because men is pulling up on this live. What were you taught about marriage at a younger age?
Well, and I would say too, sometimes cultural, because I'll say this, a lot of my friends are West Indian or they're African from different countries in Africa. And honestly, I say the conversation there is a lot different.
Yeah.
So I don't know, to me, culturally, there's different
Yeah.
things there, where there's more of an emphasis than there are others, like, with others. So, I mean, a little bit of background for me. So biologically, I'm Haitian, but my parents are African-American. So I was raised like African-American. So yeah, that topic, it just wasn't a big deal. I think if I was raised in maybe like a West Indian household, I mean, maybe the conversation would have been a little bit different, but I mean, that's not my story, so.
Yeah. So some of the comments says, I am from an African household. I was taught early on that marriage is tough and it's about holding on. Tasha said that saying marriage wasn't talked about, but it was about school was a non-negotiable. Stacy says the same thing. School was a non-negotiable. Cliff says, I was raised by a single parent, so I was taught to be overly independent. Let me see. Shirley Lynn says, my teaching was what I saw from home. And my cousin Miosha says she was taught nothing.
And let me speak to the person who made the comment about being overly independent.
Yeah.
So when my father was deceased, so when I got married, my husband went to my mom to ask for my hand in marriage.
Yeah.
And she told him, I have raised her to be independent. So understand that she will have something happen, make a decision, and then might remember to call you and tell you about it.
Yeah.
And I laughed when he told me this because I was like, well, that's crazy. We hadn't been married 3 months. I got in an auto accident on the side of the highway. I called the police, filed the insurance claim, got the car towed, got a ride to work, filed a police report, and then thought, oh, I should probably call him. Well, in the meantime, someone at my job had seen me on the side of the road, and my husband had called the office looking for me. And they're like, well, we think she's been in an accident. So for the next 2 hours, because no cell phone at that time, he couldn't get hold of me. So he had no idea if I was hurt or anything. But it never occurred to me that I had a husband that might be concerned about my well-being in that moment. I should probably call him first, and then I can take care of the business. And can I tell you, that was the first time we had a strongly worded conversation. Because I won't call it a fight, but he was really like, I've been hanging for 2 hours wondering if you were okay. I was like, what are you talking about? I was just taking care of business. And I was kind of flip about it.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I had a chance to walk away from it later that I thought, oh, this person cares about my well-being and is concerned about me. And the least that I owe them is letting them know that I'm okay. It's not about them keeping tabs on me. It's about them being concerned for my well-being. And that was one of my first lessons in marriage. It's like, oh yeah, there's someone else here now that cares about me.
That's so good.
And I have to engage accordingly.
Yeah. Jay says, I'm from West Indian family. I'm from a West Indian family marriage. Marriage early, especially to prevent you from living in sin. So essentially, he's from a West Indian family, married early to prevent you from sin. Wow.
Yeah.
And you think about it too, as Christians, we've kind of had similar conversations, right? So marry early to prevent you from all of these things. And it's not necessarily how life pans out. Not necessarily how life
That's a whole other episode.
That's a whole nother episode. Thank you, Jay, for that comment. Thank you so much, because it's so true. Let's get into the game, though. Let's get into the game. Y'all didn't know. Listen, we got a game. So these are statements, okay?
Mm-hmm.
These are statements that I've heard from a little girl until now. And I had you guys write on some index cards if you agree or disagree. However, I'm extra. Okay. So the cards is, if you agree with me, you're gonna say, girl, yes. Or if you disagree with me, you're gonna be saying, child. Please. I'm extra. Y'all know I'm extra. Stop playing. If you agree with me, girl, yes. If you disagree, child, please. Let's get it. First statement: marry a man who loves you more than you love him. No, I can't. Twin got back.
Girl, let me tell you. Hold on, I'm gonna just take my little blurry screen off.
Come on with the
blur. Yes. Okay, here we go. So you can see, girl. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay. Oh wait, hold on. Audience. Thank you, because they hear. I need. Oh my God, the blur took me out, twin. Yeah, I need y'all to engage in this as well. Okay, so marry a man who loves you more than he loves him. Audience, people, what we all agree? Girl, yes. Okay.
Oh, yes.
What you don't heal, marriage will reveal. Where y'all at? Audience, what you do not heal, marriage will reveal. Let me see what my people saying. They with y'all. We got some girl. Yes. It's so funny because, oh God, I got to keep going. But marry a man who loves you more than you love him. The flip side of it, the man was like, no, you do not do that. It was yeah. Anyway, we'll go back. So I love that answer. In marriage, it is okay for you to have you time, alone time with just yourself. Audience, where y'all at? Okay. This is one thing I've learned also. Keep a stash of just in case money hidden from your spouse.
Can we do a 50-50?
I'm a no. I shouldn't have to hide anything from you, because that means I got in with a plan to get out. I don't agree with that. And I think that's the problem we have.
I can see it both ways.
And I know Jen's gonna disagree with me because she missed.
I got yes. Tasha said, hell yes, necessary. I mean, yes, girl. No, Tasha, you said hell yes, keep it. No, girl, yes, even though I don't have. And so let's stop. Let's stop and have just like a minute of this conversation. I have a shopping account. Wait,
there are so many people that get into marriage with a plan to get out. Like, I'm gonna get married, but I'm gonna put this aside in case. Well, I need you to plan for being there, not for the in case. So, and some of it, again, we can go back to childhood and how people save money and things that happen and a lot of that. But I chose to go in with, I'm here to stay. So I don't have to hide anything from him. Now, let me be very clear.
Okay.
I know every password. I know every dime of where every dollar is. I could tell you right now that he got $7.42 in his wallet. I know where the money is. I know where his retirement accounts are. I know how to sign into all of them. I know how to change the password on all. I mean, I know, but he knows that too, right? So we don't have to hide. And if there's something I really want, then we've made a plan for it. Remember that goal setting thing we were talking about? Dude, this is something that I want. It's a big purchase. Okay, then let's plan for it. So I don't subscribe to having a hidden stash.
Twin, I didn't know
So,
they blowing up on this.
so I'm 50-50, only
Okay.
because I guess I think of, what about a spouse who isn't financially like responsible?
Yeah.
And to me, I don't see it as hiding. I'm saying to kind of almost protect your life from, like they could have a gambling problem. Like there could be a lot of things going on. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it from that aspect. Yeah, I wouldn't say hiding, but I guess if you know your spouse, I mean, I don't have one. So but to me, I understand, like, and I've seen it throughout the years of people. I've known where they're blowing through retirements, doing whatever they want to do, and then you thought you were going to retire, and then no, you're actually not going to be retiring. So just things like that.
I know the passwords, but I'll give you one thing to say. So my father died very early. He was 56. My parents have been married 25 years. And when my mother started canceling credit cards, because that's what you do, your spouse is gone, so you start taking his name off the stuff.
Yeah.
So then she went to do something like, well, you don't have any credit history. And she's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, you were always an authorized signer on his account. So when I got married, what she said to me and to him was, I need you to go open a credit card and you to go open a credit card, and do not put the other one on it. Because if something happens to one of you, you need access to money. You may have a bunch of joint accounts, but if something happens to either one of you unexpectedly and you need access to money, I need you to have a card and for him to have a card. 27 later, we still have that one separate card. We don't need it necessarily, but it was just something that we did when we were early on, because my mother was very concerned. Like, she didn't have access to stuff when my father died because of how the accounts were set up. We've come a long way since then, but at that time she was like, yeah, there's got to be that one time.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you what, the people on this live, they gangster. Listen, they said I got stash shopping accounts. Okay, Amazon could never. You understand what I'm saying? They was that question. I didn't know this question was gonna go. This question went. They was ready. I heard it depends. Some people said I got mine. Girl, yes. I hear you, Angela, but haven't been divorced, girl. Yes. Tasha said, no, I need my shopping money. Listen, Tasha said, she gonna shop. One. That's one. God, this is hilarious. We still got questions. Where your cars at, ladies?
Okay.
People live, we went and got stuck at, I didn't know we was gonna get stuck there. Let's go. You cannot blame your spouse for your lack of happiness. Stay married no matter what. Yeah.
50-50.
Audience, stay married no matter. So I can't answer that. I can answer the happiness thing, because your happiness should never be dependent on a person.
Right.
You
no matter what, it's much of an absolute.
No matter what. However, to death do us part, stay married no matter what. What was your response, Angela?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say child please on that, because that no matter what is a real tough absolute.
Come on, y'all, give me child please. Or girl, yes. What you say?
I was 50-50 on that, but I probably would lean more towards child, please, though.
Okay, so we got no matter what, question mark, 50-50. No matter what, infidelity, Bible says divorce, child, please. Oh, they're not saying that. The fellas agreed. Fellas was like, no matter what? That's a stretch.
Yeah.
I think that I put that question there and we can kind of, I'm just go off topic a little bit, or not topic, but I'm going to lean into that question because I think that people feel that once you get married, that no matter what, I have to be committed to this covenant. So no matter infidelity, abuse, anything that you can think of that could happen, I said that I'm going to get married, and my vows, no matter what, I'm obligated to stay here. And I've watched a lot of my family members and a lot of my friends be in abusive relationships because of it. And I just don't believe that you should stay no matter what in anything. The job, the friendship, the marriage, the relationship. Would y'all agree with that? Or does marriage exclude that? Is there a certain it excludes that? It's a covenant between you and God. And so no matter what, you've made your promise and we have to rock out with our socks out.
So here's where community comes in. And so early in our marriage, we had a lot of friends getting married and we talked a lot about it, right? When I moved to Dallas and became part of a small group at one community church, and the goal of that group was, one of the goals was healthy marriage, right?
Yeah.
And so we are sometimes taught what goes on in this house stays in this house, which is why we have generational trauma, which is why we have generational abuse, because we're taught if it happens here, it stays here, but it can't get healed here.
Talk to them.
So we need community to heal.
Yeah.
And so I think that you have to lean into that. You're going to lean into prayer. You're going to lean into what you know. But then if you're going to lean into community and the right community, right. That's a whole other show. But leaning into the right community to help you understand where you go from here.
Yeah.
And there are some absolutes for a lot of people. And my mother told my husband, the first time that my child causes you to think you want to put hands on her, deliver her back to me. Right? For my family, that's an absolute. Laying of hands in anger, pain, that's an absolute for us. Yeah. But that's not the same for everybody. And I can't walk in someone's shoes who's been in that situation because it's not mine. I can only say that prayer and community is helpful in understanding where you are, what needs to heal, and what's next.
Yeah, Shirley Lynn says any mental, emotional, verbal, physical abuse is an absolute out. And thank you for Shirley Lynn. I think that's her name.
Shirley. She and I we graduated high school together.
Shirley Lynn, listen, girl, I called you Shirley Lynn the whole time, but you're my friend. Because listen, I absolutely agree. And I posted something the other day about the detriment to psychological abuse. I'm going to do a live at some point soon, because we don't talk about the psychological abuse. We only talk about if not he and she, by the way, because women nuts too. Put your hand. Oh no, y'all.
I'm sorry.
That's true.
But I wasn't expecting that, so I'm sorry, but it's true. We are
nuts. Nuts. Y'all will haul off and slap a man in a minute. Do a muff. We nuts. But we don't talk about how psychological abuse is so important. And because we don't talk about this on the back burner. So the words and how you treat me and the overly uh I don't even want to get into this because I'll go on a whole tangent about it, because it's psychological abuse is incredible and it's not talked about at all. And so people are in relationships with people who are extremely abusive, but because it's not physical, we put it to the side. But it's also killing your self-esteem. It's killing your self-love. It's killing your people who you normally will be with, you're not with anymore. You're demolished as a human. And that's a whole different life. So I'll do something different, but I get very, 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 very serious about psychological abuse. Anyway, the game is over, because listen, I didn't think we was gone. I got other questions for the game, but listen, what would you consider, twin, as a healthy relationship for you? So initially the question was, what will be considered a healthy relationship? But maybe that varies from relationship to relationship. And I don't know if that should vary, if there should be certain things. Twin, what would you consider a healthy relationship? Marriage.
Okay.
No, relationship.
Forget it. Okay.
This is a relationship.
Okay, well, I answered it because we had the questions ahead of time. So I just put here, marriage where your union is about more than what you can get from the other person, but about God joining you with this person for a higher calling and purpose. I put it's two-sided. It's like a free flow conversation of ideas. You're not belittling the other person or like talking crazy to them.
Yeah.
So for me, I guess that's what I would consider like just open lines of communication. We need to talk about stuff, and then just genuinely, you really want to take care of, like, you want to see the other person happy. You're gonna, do what you have to do, and then just really like putting a high emphasis on that you're in this thing together, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to make things work, and just make sure that each person is getting what they need out of the relationship.
Yeah. What about you, Angela? What's healthy to you? What would healthy look like?
So my 19-year-old daughter randomly said to me, "Hey mom, what does love feel like?" And I had to stop for a minute, because for her, I'm sure it's in the context of what she sees with her dad and I. And I looked at her and I said, for me, love is safe. I'm safe physically, I'm safe emotionally. When I walk in the door of my house, I don't have to wonder what I'm walking into. It's all good. Even if he's had a bad day, that's not directed at me. So I'm safe. And so that safe allows me to be who I am in the moment. And so I have to provide that same place for him.
Yeah.
And again, learning in a marriage, right? I'm a person who reads a lot. So I'm always setting stuff down. I'll read half a book and set it here, a magazine, set it here, and a dish in the sink and a cup of tea, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's always someone that lives in a place that's very picked up. And one day he said to me, "I'm not angry that you leave the things here, but when I come in from the outside world, which is a hard place to be sometimes, my house is my place of peace. And peace for me is picked up."
Yeah.
Well, heck, that's easy. I mean, that was not a something to me. He wasn't mad at me or anything. He was just telling me that what is safe for him is how his space looks. So guess what? I picked up the books and I found a bag and I threw everything in the bag and hide it in the closet. But whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I did that though. When I knew he was on his way home, I just shoved everything in the bag.
Yeah.
But I understood that for him, his safe and his peace was walking into the house, and there wasn't anything that needed to be done or picked up. He's loosened up a little bit now. He doesn't get mad when I leave a cup in the sink, but
yeah,
I come to understand that. And so for me, the healthy marriage is I can hear what he's saying and understand there's a way for me to respond that is safe for him, right? And you've got to understand it. You've got to understand how the other communicates. I thought that if I needed to make a point, I needed to raise my voice, shut him down, because he came from a family of yellers. So for me to yell was just going to shut him down.
Yeah.
So then I turned to my corporate perspective, and on this, da, 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 da. And he was like, whatever, just say it. And so learning how the other hears when you're trying to communicate something that's really important to you, so that then they can respond safely. So for me, it was about safety.
So safety took off in the comments. It took off. Oh, I love that. That's my answer now. Feeling safe, security. Wow. I mean, even when you said it out loud, I felt like that's what I desire to have. That's beautiful. Just feeling safe with you. And not just if somebody come in the house and I, you shoot them, whatever, but just like I feel safe with my experiences with you, my emotions, with my good and bad. Ladies, time's up. I have literally 10 more questions and we can't even get to. We said this at the beginning of this conversation. We have to have two. Time is up. So
then I'm gonna jump in here with two things.
Please do.
One of the things that I admired about Jen was when we first met, because we met at Liberty, and she was talking about getting married, and she was talking about premarital counseling. I was like, oh yeah, you ought to go over and do that at one. They have these classes. They weren't even, I don't think you guys were members yet even. No. But it was no question. Like, she was like, we're there. And then when I look at her and Greg and how they put together their financial life, had I had some of that stuff in the beginning, Linus and I would already be retired.
Yeah.
I really, wanted to take this opportunity to just say, I love the fact that Jen and her husband set an example for other couples in terms of how to do this thing financially at any stage of the game, right? And that was just something that I wanted to make sure I got out there. My premarital counseling was one session, and we didn't have a church home at the time, so it was one session. But the best thing that came out of that was, he said, understand what you want, understand what you need, and understand what you expect, because your wants and needs may change, but your expectations being let down are when there's problems. And I have carried that for 27 years. He just did something. Did I want him to do different? Did I need him to do different? Or did I expect him to do different? And I have to answer those questions before I react.
So good.
And it's like, oh, okay. And then I can respond.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, even, Twin, when I look at you, and even you guys have done conversations about finances, like, I admire you when it comes to that. And I think that marriage and finances probably isn't talked about a lot, but you guys are kind of making that sort of space for it, which is incredible. Ladies, thank you guys. Before I go, y'all know I end every live. I cannot believe time's up. We talked about this before I went live. I know I have so many more questions, so please grant me a part 2. But before I go, I will not feel satisfied if you don't tell me one thing that you absolutely love about yourself. I'm gonna go to you, Angela. What is one thing that you absolutely, I know it'd be uncomfortable, we don't like it, but we're gonna get comfortable today. What is one thing you love? Nobody else, nobody got to tell you this. You don't need to pour it into you. This is how I'm showing up to the world. I love this about me. What would it be?
I'm a helper. I will help somebody if they need 3 washcloths or they need money. I can't help but help.
Yeah. Twin, what do you love?
I'd say for me, I guess kind of making people feel safe, like it's like a safe place just talking to me. And it's like my mom and sister will be like, okay, why are you talking to this person? And I'm like, because you don't know what they got going on, what they're going through. Maybe no one else wants to talk to them. So to me, I love talking to people. I love people. I feel like we all have a story. Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And I guess I like that. And the same thing, I enjoy helping people, but my husband, a nickname he calls me Chats, because he's like, you just love talking to people. And I'm like, I do. I really do love talking.
Are you what?
Chats. Like chatting, chats.
Really? I don't know that. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and my mom calls me Miss 21, like Miss 21 questions. But yeah, I love learning new things, talking to people, seeing what they got going on. And then, yeah, I just like to kind of like chop it up with people. So yeah.
Well, I love you both. I think you know that aside from this platform, I love y'all so much. You guys have poured into me tremendously from the moment that I have met y'all. So thank you. We have to do part 2. So we need to, as soon as we get off this, because we on the whole little chat together on our phone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I didn't get through my questions. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I have more questions. I think that people loved it. They were engaged, and the world needs to hear your voices. And so thank you guys. I love you. Talk soon. Thank you everybody who tuned in. We will be back for part 2. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Go Packers.
Go Broncos.
No.
There she go.
No, because I'm not gonna get the
There
break.
she go.
Go Packers.
You know what? Even my pillows is dark orange. I'm just saying.
Hey, listen, we play at 7:30. I'm gonna go get dressed and go to see this game. I love you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.